Hi, and welcome to One Life Matters, the podcast that reminds you that your life is worth living with purpose, joy, and authenticity. I'm Trish, a counsellor and life coach, and I'll be sharing down-to-earth conversations, insights, and tools to help you navigate the ups and downs of life. Whether you're healing from the past, finding your confidence, or simply wanting to feel more at peace with yourself, this is your space. Because you only get one life and it truly matters. Just before we get into this episode, I just want to mention that this podcast is for general information, insight, and reflection only. It's not a substitute for personal therapy, counselling, or medical advice. Do you ever find yourself saying yes when every cell in your body is screaming no? Maybe you're overcommitting to plans you're already dreading, or nodding along to an opinion that you actually don't agree with at all. Inside, you want to speak up, you want to set a limit, but the moment you even think about disagreeing, your body hits the panic button. Your heart races, your throat tightens, and suddenly it feels safer to just say yes. So you leave your authentic self by the wayside and step into agreeable mode. You become the person who apologizes for things you didn't even do, laughs at jokes that aren't funny because you're afraid of the awkward silence if you don't. You're the person who edits your own stories to make sure you don't make anyone else feel uncomfortable, or finds themselves sorting out someone else's crisis while your own needs get neglected. In fact, you're so used to putting yourself last that when somebody actually puts you first, it doesn't feel like a gift or a kindness. It feels uncomfortable, suspicious, and can actually make you feel anxious. You're constantly scanning the room, checking the temperature of everyone else's mood, and adjusting yourself to fit in just to keep the peace. You're brilliant at playing the supporting role in everyone else's story, but never take the lead role yourself. Any of this sound familiar? Well, if it does, listen on, because we're going to be talking about something we all do at varying degrees, but sometimes for very different reasons. And you've probably guessed what it is. People pleasing. One of the reasons people pleasing can feel so automatic for some of us is what's known as the Fawn response. Most of us have heard of fight or flight when we feel threatened, and some people also know about freeze, but there's actually another response that doesn't get talked about a lot. But we're going to talk about it today, and that's fawn. Fawn or fawning is when, instead of fighting back, running away, or shutting down, we try to keep ourselves safe or valued by keeping other people happy. We kind of become what we think other people want us to be. We think that if we stay agreeable, we don't rock the boat, and make sure that everyone else is okay, then hopefully everything will stay calm and will be okay. But what happens to the you that gets buried under all of those expectations? We're going to be exploring where this need to please started, why it's so hard to break, and what it actually costs us to be the nice, agreeable one all the time. We'll also be looking at practical, effective ways to manage these habits by putting healthy boundaries in place. We're also going to learn how to draw lines that aren't meant to shut people out, but to keep your peace in. This is about more than just saying no. It's about taking back your power and clearing the clutter of other people's opinions so you can finally live life more authentically. Because when you stop living life to please everyone else, you'll start making choices that are right for you. For many people, the people-pleasing or fawn response developed in childhood. If love, approval, or emotional safety felt a bit unpredictable growing up, the nervous system can learn very quickly that the safest thing to do is to be easygoing, compliant, to be good and be helpful and be pleasing. You get my drift. And what also happens is we can become very tuned into other people's moods. You know those moments when no one has actually said anything, but you can feel that something's off. You sense it. The room might go a bit quiet or someone's tone changes slightly. You think you notice a certain look that passes across their face, and Suddenly your brain is on high alert, scanning the room for clues. What did I do? Did I say something wrong? Are they upset with me? And before you even had time to think about it, you're already adjusting yourself. You start anticipating what they need. You soften your tone, you smile, you try to smooth things over. You might agree with something you don't agree with at all, or laugh something off, all the while swallowing the words you really wanted to say, because somehow they just won't come out. I want to say that this isn't because you're weak or fake. It's because somewhere along the way you've learned really well that keeping the peace was the safest option. If everyone else was calm, then maybe you could relax too. This repeated lesson made you incredibly good at reading the room. You notice tiny mood shifts that other people completely miss, or if you mention it, might accuse you of being overly sensitive, paranoid even. So you anticipate, you accommodate, you adjust yourself to suit others because for many people who struggle with people pleasing, the unspoken fear sitting underneath it all is that if others are unhappy with you, you might lose connection. And to us humans, connection feels like survival. The tricky thing is, the patterns we learn in childhood can follow us into adult life, causing us to use outdated data to continue navigating relationships and situations where boundaries are so necessary but rarely set. We lose touch with our own needs and our right to have those needs met. The good news is that once we understand the fawn response, we can start noticing when it's happening, and acknowledgement is always the first step to change. Little by little, we can begin to build the courage to be more honest, more boundaried, and more authentic. An analogy that I often use with clients when referring to people pleasing is, it's like setting yourself on fire to keep everyone else warm, because pleasing everyone else might be great for them, but at what cost and harm to you? Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm a helper by nature. I genuinely love making people's lives easier. But there's a massive difference between being a good friend or a good person and being a doormat at your own detriment. So let's take a look at a few examples and see if you can relate to any of the following. I know I can. All right, so here's the big one. The absolute pain in the arse default yes person. Probably the most common of fawn responses. For me, this hit hardest back when I was at home with the kids during the school holidays and I'd get a text or even worse, an actual call, which really puts you on the spot. Hey, hun, if you're home tomorrow, could you look after my kids while I go to work? And look, I really liked these people and their kids. But the reality was that I was already running on empty, and I knew that adding two more energetic humans to the mix was going to be absolute friggin' bedlam. My internal reality was that I didn't have the emotional bandwidth to be the fun, patient person or good, accommodating friend that I wanted to be. And sometimes I just wanted to spend quality time with my own kids and not with other people's. But did I say no? Of course I didn't. In the midst of my internal meltdown and panic, my mouth opened and out popped the default fawn response in a cheery, high-pitch, "Oh my God, of course, I'd love to help out." Meanwhile, my stomach is doing backflips and I'm feeling that familiar, cold dread. I'm literally regretting saying I'd look after these kids even before they stepped through my front door. The cost was that I've basically invited a riot into my home and a whole load of resentment in my head just because I was too polite to protect my own sanity and time. What about the opinion chameleon? Have you ever been in a situation when you're with a group of friends or whoever and they start discussing a point of view that you don't agree with? Your internal reality is that you actually have your own opinion that might be different, but because of your people-pleasing fawn response, you find yourself nodding along or, even worse, chiming in with, "Yeah, I totally see what you mean," just to avoid disagreeing with anyone. The cost of that response is that it can leave you feeling icky, fake, or even a bit ashamed of yourself for not being brave enough to disagree. And what about the apology loop? This is when you apologise for things you didn't even do or that doesn't need an apology. This is a fawn response that comes up quite a lot in therapy, where I'll have clients who seem to apologize for merely existing. So I want to look at this response a little closer. Do you often hear yourself saying things like, "Sorry for bothering you. Sorry for asking. Sorry, I'm probably wrong, but..." And sometimes you find yourself saying sorry before you've even had a chance to think about it. I mean, I've heard clients say sorry for saying sorry. Now, on the surface, it can look like someone is just being very polite, but often underneath it, there's something much deeper going on. For many people, this habit started a long time ago, perhaps in childhood or in early relationships where it felt safer to take responsibility for things quickly, smooth things over to make sure no one stayed upset for too long. So apologizing becomes a way of trying to lower the emotional temperature in the room. It's like you're begging, "Please don't be cross with me. Please don't reject me. Please don't disconnect from me." And the nervous system learns something very powerful. If I apologize quickly enough, maybe I can stop things from escalating. The tricky thing is that over time, this response can become so automatic that you find yourself apologizing just for having needs, opinions, or even taking up some space, like you don't deserve to. The reality is that you haven't done anything wrong, and the apology is never really about the situation. It's about trying to protect connection. So if you're listening and recognizing yourself in some of this, always saying yes, smoothing things over, keeping everyone else happy, setting yourself on fire to keep everyone else warm, let's talk about the steps you can take to start making a change. Most people pleasers have an automatic yes reflex. Here's where the yes buffer comes in handy. It'll give you a bit of breathing space to move out of the fawn response and respond in a way that's more authentic. If they want a response straight away, like if they ring you and put you on the spot, try saying, "I'm in the middle of something right now, so let me get back to you in 10 minutes. That short window allows the fawn fog to clear, the perceived threat lessens, and you can actually look at your capacity in a calmer way. If you've got a bit more time to consider, how about, "I'll need to check my calendar or talk to my partner, and I'll get back to you in the next couple of hours or tomorrow," or whatever time window would be appropriate. And during this time, check the cost. Does every yes to someone else mean a no to you? Ask yourself, what am I giving up, whether it be sleep, gym, sanity, to do this? In short, don't give an answer when your nervous system is hijacked. Wait until you're alone, your breathing is steady, and you can think with a little more calm and clarity. Okay, so you've used your buffer, you've stepped away, you've breathed, and you realize after all your calm considerations, your authentic answer is to say no. But now comes the part that makes your stomach flip, actually delivering the news. For a people pleaser, no doesn't feel like a simple boundary. It feels like a confrontation. You start thinking, how the hell am I going to tell her? I can't. Oh my God, she's going to hate me. Our friendship will be over. She's going to think I'm a horrible person. And your brain starts spinning a disaster movie script for an excuse to say no. Just calm down. This is your fawn response trying to trick you back into compliance. It's telling you that your safety depends on everyone else's constant approval because it's what you've always done. But here's the secret. This is where the soft no script comes into play. It's the bridge that lets you protect your time while keeping your connection status. So I want to remind you that the no is to what's being asked of you, not the person doing the asking, okay? You aren't rejecting the person, you're declining a request, and a soft no honors the relationship while maintaining the boundary. So here's a couple of soft no examples. Let's say you've been invited to go out, and even though you've got nothing else planned, you're not really feeling it and you just want to stay home. But the thought of declining that invitation causes your anxiety to skyrocket. We often feel like we need a big excuse like a wedding, a double shift at work, or a broken leg to turn down a social invite. But I want you to start treating your rest like a non-negotiable meeting with yourself. So how about something along the lines of, thanks for thinking of me and I really do appreciate it, but I'm just focusing on some downtime this weekend. When you say I'm focusing on some downtime, you aren't lying. And you know what? You don't owe anyone an explanation of how you're spending that downtime. Whether you're staring at a wall or reading a book, that's your time and you have every right to spend it how you want to. When you're asked to cover a shift at work, your instinct is to provide an alibi. You feel like you need a good enough reason to say no. But here's the truth. Just by telling them that you're not available is a full and valid reason, and it's enough. Because sometimes when you give a specific excuse, you're giving them permission to judge whether your personal life is more important than their staffing problem. Don't give them that power. Just saying, I'm sorry, I'm not available to cover that shift, but I hope you're able to get it sorted quickly, is enough. And if your manager pushes back with the old, but we're really stuck, chestnut, you can say, I understand it's a tough spot, but as I said, I'm just not available. Hope you find someone soon. Enough. I've saved this soft no till last, as this is one that gets brought a lot in my therapy room. And that's saying no to friends. So I want you to really listen and remember the 4 following things. Your no, as I said before, is not a rejection of them. You're saying no to a task, not to the person. Your connection status with your friend is based on your history and your love, not on your willingness and ability to please them. Secondly, your discomfort is not danger. This is something I tell my clients a lot. That nervous fluttering in your chest? Well, that's just your people pleaser habit trying to survive. You are safe. And even if you are disliked for 5 minutes, it's not a life-threatening emergency. Number 3, honesty is the highest form of kindness and respect. This might sound a bit cringy, but it's very true. It's a gift to the friendship. If you say yes when you really want to say no, you aren't being a good friend, you're being a martyr. Eventually, that martyr complex will turn into bitterness, and that is what actually kills friendships and connection. A clean no protects the love you have for them. And the last one, fourthly, and this one is bloody important, protect your energy. No one else truly knows what your battery percentage is on any given day. Only you do. It's your job and yours alone to make sure you don't run out of power. Also remember this. If they are a true friend, your no won't push them away. If they aren't a true friend, your no will simply stop them from using you. And the only people who get upset when you set boundaries are the ones who benefited from you. And a couple more points I want to make. Avoid over-explaining. People pleasers often give a long list of excuses to justify their no. This actually invites the other person to problem solve your excuses. I can't because my car is acting up and my cat's sick. Their response could be, oh, well, I can pick you up and we can drop the cat off to the vet's on the way. So keep your soft no concise so there's no room for negotiation. And use the validation sandwich. Start with a kind opening, deliver the firm no, and end with a well wish. It softens the blow without changing the answer. We saw an example of the work scenario, but this can be used in any situation. Thanks for thinking of me. I can't make it this time, but I hope you have fun. If saying no feels like a confrontation, remember, you aren't starting a fight, you're ending an internal one. And every time you use the soft no, you're choosing peace over resentment. And try practicing low-stakes boundary setting. You don't start training for a marathon by running 26 miles. Start out saying no in situations where the consequences are 0 to very minimal. At a restaurant, for instance, if your steak's cold or your order's wrong, don't just eat it to be polite. Kindly send it back. In conversation, when a friend says, wasn't that film amazing? But actually, you didn't like it at all. Try saying, I don't think it was for me, actually. And just leave it at that. When someone tries to stop you for a survey or a donation in the high street or Asda entrance, give a firm "no thank you" without breaking your stride. If you feel a spike of guilt after saying no, just notice it. Let it sit there. You'll see that 30 seconds or so later, that spike will subside and the world is still spinning. That's the proof you need that your no isn't a weapon. It's just a choice. And every time you do this, you're telling your brain, I'm allowed to have an opinion, I'm allowed to have a preference, and I am allowed to say no. The hard truth is that setting boundaries will feel bad at first. The guilt you feel when saying no is often just the growing pains of your newfound self-respect. Just remember, you're not being mean or difficult. You're just being honest. And guess what? You're bloody well entitled to be. Like I've said, being nice while harbouring resentment is actually less kind than being honest from the start. So before we go today, I want to say one thing directly to the person who feels like they've spent their entire life being a shock absorber for everyone else's emotions. I know why you do it. I know that for a long time, being easygoing and saying yes felt like the only way to stay safe or feel loved, accepted, or keep the peace. You've become an expert at reading the room, but in the process, you might have forgotten how to be yourself. And I want you to hear this. Your worth is not something you earn by being useful. You don't have to pay for your space on this planet by constantly overextending yourself. The people who truly belong in your life don't want a version of you that's exhausted and resentful. They want you, the real, honest, wonderful version of you. So, as you head back into doing what you do, remember that every no you say to something that drains you is a yes to your own life. It's going to feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. Be kind to yourself. You aren't being difficult. You're just finally realising your worth. Thank you for joining me on One Life Matters. If today's episode spoke to you, I'd love you to subscribe and maybe share it with someone who might need it too. And remember, you only get one life, so make it one that truly matters. Until next time, take care of yourself.